Last year I did a video on repairing statuary. It was a kind of a brief little show, and I said I had a couple other statues that needed repaired. One here that's missing an arm, and this gargoyle here that's got chipped wing, and the like. And anyway, I told you I'd be going to fix them. I made what I call a blank arm for this. It'll go kind of like that eventually. I need to shape out of what's called two-part epoxy. I got various kinds. This one here is for marine use. It's a little bit overkill for the statue, but you know, this one's heavy duty, which is again a bit of overkill for a statue. And then they got some Plasti-Weld here. It's you can see down in it there. Get it out of the tube a little. There we go. See, it's got two parts that you break off some and then mix it together and then mold it, and it sets up like a rock. And you can also get these things. You can get at the local hardware store. There is two-part epoxy putty that you can buy for hobbyists, but it's a bit more expensive. Most of these run, I think this is like $7, and this might be $10 or something. I mean, they're, you know, but I think the stuff you buy that's actual hobbyist type stuff is closer to like $20 for the same amount. So this is a little cheaper, and it's also, you don't have to mail order it. I mean, you can go down anytime you want to, you know, an auto store or hardware store and pick it up anytime you need it. But anyway, that's something I'm going to be working on. I'll be working on shaping this into a new paw. And there's another few chips here that need a little repair and stuff, but I can get that repaired. I won't show you the entire process because there's really no way I can teach you how to carve. I mean, like I've said before, the old adage is, you know, if you want a carving of a duck, you get you a block of wood and you cut everything that doesn't look like a duck off, and then you have your duck carving. And it's basically the same for this. I got a kind of a shape for it, and I'll start shaping it and sanding it and seeing how it fits, and shaping it and sanding it some more, and just continue cutting off pieces until I get something that I like, that looks right to me. But anyway, I'll probably be doing this over the 4th of July weekend, seeing how far I can get along with these things. Last night I went ahead and I troweled some putty into the broken part of this statue and let it harden. It's now nice and hard. And of course I've put more on it than what I'll need, because you can always put more on, but you can't take less off. So anyway, I've got that all ready to go, and again I'm going to try to get this one started shaping. And I've got my Dremel here all hung up with a sanding drum on it here, ready to start doing some sanding. And we'll see how things go. Well, after about 20 minutes and using just these 3 bits and these 2 pieces of sandpaper, I have the easier of the 2 sculptures done, I think. I don't know how in focus that is. One thing nice when you're doing that is if the putty is contrast to the original work, it's easy to tell where you need to stop and all. I've textured it a little bit and got it shaped down, and I think with a little bit of matching paint, you'll have a hard time telling this has ever been broken. Anyway, like I said, that was the easiest one. It's always easy to fill holes and then, you know, cut them down where they match the original surface, as opposed to something like this where you're actually trying to create a new surface. But I got that one done. I'll show you when I get it painted, show you what it looks like, the finished product here. But like I said, it doesn't look bad. And as I said, with the addition of a little paint, you can never tell it was broken. And that's actually not the side that was fixed. This is the side that was fixed. See much difference in it? A little dry brushing there and everything, and like I said, it's hard to tell it was ever broken. Look about the same on both sides, give or take, of course. And anyway, that one's done. Take that one back inside. This one I'm still working on. I got the arm rounded a little bit. It's not quite as far down as I want, but what I'm thinking on doing is to mount this arm first and then contour it to the existing part. So what I'm going to have to do now is figure out the length of this arm and match it with this arm. And then I'm going to put a pin in here and go through here and glue it. So in other words, instead of just having glue holding it together, it'll also have a mechanical connection. Someone tried to repair it before, you can see, and they use contact cement, which unfortunately on resin really doesn't do much. And of course, they must have had the arm and glued it back on, and it fell out and got lost. So anyway, next thing to do is to get this cut to length, wherever it goes, and pinned and glued in, and then we'll continue with the carving process of this one. But this one I am happy with. It looks real nice. Update on the cat sculpture repair. As you can see, I got a paw installed, and although it doesn't quite look right yet, I'm using the other one as a model. I have to add a little clay in a couple of places to make it kind of bulk out, but I have to admit it looks a lot better now than it did without the paw on. So it's an improvement. And although, like I said, I'm not sure what the original paw looked like, but it's probably fairly close. I repaired the chips to the ears here, so they're all done. So I have to add a little clay. That's always the waiting time, because the clay takes overnight to dry. So I add some clay, and I won't be able to do anything on this anymore until tomorrow, and hopefully I will have it done, at least as far as the carving part is done. And all I gotta do is try to match the paint on it a little. And now for the section of this video that I tell you you really can't teach, you just have to do. And about the only way to do it is just get you some clay and start playing. I've got the new paw put on. Doesn't look bad as far as position is concerned compared to the other one here and all, but there are a few problems. Number one, if you take a look there, the original paw looks a lot thicker than the new one. So I need to add a little clay on either side here. And if you look right here, there's a kind of a ridge down the back here. And I don't know how well it shows up, but there isn't any here. So what I'm going to have to do is to get a little more clay and put it on. And when it dries, I'll sculpt it down and see how much closer I am to having the two pieces look alike. It's getting there, but like I said, it takes a while. Then comes the fun part, trying to match the paint. But we'll deal with that when that comes along. Okay, I've added a little more clay to the statue here. You can see here, I think, the paw. I built out the side of the paw here, and up at the top, and a bit underneath. Of course, I put more on than I'm going to leave on, because I always do that. But it is closer to the same size now, and with a little sanding and grinding, I'm hoping it will get a little closer to the, even closer to the same look. But that's the next step, is to shape this down and get it looking like it once did. There comes a point in carving, especially carving monochromatic material, where you just really can't tell what you're carving anymore and you have to do something. So what I did here is I sprayed on some black paint on the carving to kind of highlight the area and make it a little easier to compare the two. And to my eye, they don't look like a bad match. I'm reasonably pleased. They look about the same thickness. Turn around on this side so maybe you can see a little better. Look to be about the same thickness and the same width and all. So what I'm thinking is I may do a little more fine sanding on the, smoothing it out a little bit more. There's a few scratches in it still. But at that point, I think it's ready to be repainted and done with. And of course that will be the next point you reach in carving, is when it's like, yeah, I could continue carving and down until where, you know, a giant oak tree turns into a toothpick. But at some point you just gotta say, yeah, that's good enough, and stop. And that's coming up pretty fast. So we'll see how things go. It's done. Masked off the base and put a little flat black on it, and then a coat of silver, chrome, whatever you want to call it. And it's done. And it's not that bad. If you look real close, you can tell there's a difference between the paw that was built and the original one, but not much of a difference. You can see the ear, it's in focus here, a little bit of damage on that, but again, not real noticeable. And a lot better than what it was. Of course, ideally, the thing would have been, it would have never fallen over, but I think that's the company's fault. Let's see how the paw sticks out here and how the base is down here. It's kind of top heavy where it could fall over at any time, just on its own. And that's unfortunate. Of course, the next best thing would have been for whoever owned the statue when it fell over to save the paw and attach it properly with the right kind of glue and all, and that would have been the best thing, but unfortunately someone didn't, and the paw got lost. So the next best thing, of course, is to fabricate a new one. And like I said, it now looks, it's not perfect, but all things considered, it's not bad either. Put a couple of stills on at the end of the video here to compare it with what it looked like before and all. And anyway, that's how you fix a statue. At least that's how I fix a statue.